Hey, how's it going? Hope this finds you doing well wherever you are in the world. This is Matt Javitt and Nikki Javitt with Passport Joy Travel Talk Podcast. We are currently in Brisbane, Australia, where we're staying with a couple of friends that are treating us like a king and queen. It's been amazing. And we had just arrived here from Tasmania, Australia. That's an island south of the mainland of Australia. We're going to talk about that today. That's what this episode's about. So stay tuned for that. If you're just getting introduced to this podcast, we are a traveling couple that has been traveling a little over 2 years now, and we've only got about 7 weeks left until we go home to the States. But during this journey, we've been documenting not only on this podcast, but at passportjoy.com in the written form. And this is our way to hopefully help you have a better getaway if you're looking to travel to someplace like Australia and Tasmania, or anywhere around the world that we have gone to, whether it's a week-long vacation or long-term travel like we decided to do a little over 2 years ago. And we are not expert travelers by any means, but it's just we've gotten better and better over time. And this is our way to kind of document that and give you some insight on what's the things that we've done to help us along the way. Just like every episode, we share the show notes, the things that we talk about. In this case, Tasmania, we put those notes at passportjoy.com/podcast. You'll find all the episodes there. You can find those links to make it easier for your travels if you decide to go that way. And if you want to get caught up on all the places we've been to, month by month, country by country, go to the Journey So Far tab at passportjoy.com. And you can always click on the Now tab as well. That shows where we currently are in the world whenever you might be listening to this. If you have not already, please check out Nikki's book that she released recently. It's called Passport Joy, Reflections on Life, Love, and Other Stuff While Traveling the World. It is her book on her experience on the road, and also gives you insight on the things that got her to this point in life, and some background on her. It's a really awesome book. She's getting some great feedback. So if you can go ahead and download that, and if you enjoy it, please leave a review. That really helps her get in front of new travelers that might be looking to read the book. And it's not just a traveler's book too, because it gives insight on a ton of stuff. So those reviews really help her get in front of new people. And World Barbershop Adventures, that's the video aspect of some of the travels we're doing. We did tape one in Tasmania, so depending upon when you listen to this, that'll be up soon. But all the episodes, that was our 17th episode, and there's a bunch of content from Tokyo and Poland and different places around the world. You can check that out. Again, World Barbershop Adventures. And if you are looking to support us in some way, or if you're just looking to take our advice and understand some of the things the companies and the brands that have helped us along our journey, go to our partners page at passportjoy.com/partners. We have our Amazon shop on there. We have an influencer page on Amazon, and that was basically, you just click through there. You can see all the items that we list, from the things that have helped us a bunch on our journey, the things that are in our backpack, all the books that we love, electronics that have helped us along the journey. So if you just go to the partners page, you can see all the things from Amazon that we buy and like. All right. And if you want a weekly email, a newsletter, I send those out on Thursdays. Gives you highlights on our journey, but also insight on fun travel stuff, tips and hacks, and things I'm just finding along the way. Go to the website and sign up for free, and just put your email address in there, click go, and you'll get those emails every Thursday. All right, let's get in this episode about Tasmania. All right, so we arrived to Tasmania. Tasmania is a large island south of Australia. It's part of Australia. It's one of the Australian states. Got about 500,000 people on the island. It's big and it's beautiful, a lot of wilderness, and it's just known for just being green and kind of wild. And the history of it is interesting as well. We're learning a lot about Australian history, but it's, again, is one of those things where they used criminal, or what's the best way to put it? Convict labor to build up the island. So they brought some folks from Sydney that were in Sydney and brought them down to Tasmania to build up the island. And that's the way that it was started. And that was less than 200 years ago. So just a very short history to this beautiful island. It was awesome. So we flew in from Melbourne, just a short, about an hour and 15-minute flight in to Hobart. And then once we landed, there's tons of Ubers available. Got an Uber and took about the 20-minute drive into our Airbnb that we stayed at, which was right off Elizabeth Street. It was a nice little, everything was like cute and quaint and kind of small townish. And we were staying in North Hobart. So we got settled in and just got everything squared up there kind of later at night that one night. We need to got some food, some quick food. And then we ended up going to a fun little local tavern to start off the visit. It's called the Republic Bar. It's right there in the corner of Elizabeth Street near where we were staying. And just awesome, just a lot of fun. Live music, a great local band. It's about a 6-piece band just getting after it, and a lot of locals just dancing and having a great time. And it was a lot of fun because when we landed, it was a Sunday night, and it was the day before their Labor Day. So they had their Labor Day the next day. So I guess a lot of people were out celebrating that, knowing that they had that Monday off, because the next Monday was pretty sleepy when Nikki and I walked around a bit. So we just decided to check out all of Hobart, and because it's known for the downtown area is known for all their shops and just bookstores and boutiques, restaurants with like knickknacks and things like that, and cafes and galleries. We actually walked through a really nice gallery as well. But that area is called Salamanca. That's it, right? Salamanca Place. So we walked down there, and that's where most of those cute little shops are. And then you could walk out onto the port where all the big yachts and big ships come in. And there's even a few of the, I guess, cruise ship type things that come in as well. Yes, we just walked around there and had a nice long day walking around, enjoying the amazingly fresh air and just sightseeing around those areas. And also went over to a place called Battery Point. And these are basically just like tiny little neighborhoods within this city that you can just navigate on the sidewalks and just kind of walk through and check out all the different parks and scenery. And then we ended up, after we grabbed some coffee at a local coffee shop, we saw this little port area with small yachts and people playing with their dogs on the beach. We ended up at this little park called St. David's Park, which is amazing because it was extremely well kept, quiet for the most part. Sun was out. It was amazing. And there were people practicing there. To me, I'm not in that business of, to me, it's like circus people, but because they're on these slack ropes, acrobats, they're like, they were doing couple acrobat things where they were tossing each other around on their legs. A lot of dudes were juggling things.
Yeah, they were doing acro yoga and walking on slack lines and juggling, and they had some other props that I've never seen before, but they were just using them to, like, I guess, practice on their balance and stuff. But it's kind of cool because, like Matt said, there was about 8 people out there. It was just really, really nice weather, and they were enjoying the weather and able to practice their stuff. So I'm not sure exactly what it was for, if they do it just for fun or if they're in something like Cirque du Soleil, or I don't know, but it was just cool to watch.
Yeah, some of the slack lines were like 6 feet off the ground. So for me to see that, and the trees were really far apart, that was pretty wacky. But it was nice because we had packed a blanket, so we just took it all in and laid down for a little bit and just watched everybody out and just watch everybody doing that and just chilled out for a little bit. And then I guess that was about it. We kept walking around the city and enjoyed that day and hit a local grocery, and everything's normal. It's just a normal town, but just small, right? It's just a lot smaller than a lot of the big cities we've been, because I mean, we've been to really large cities. When you're talking about places like Hyderabad and Calcutta, which are over 10 million apiece, and we just came from Melbourne, which was a little over 4 or 5 million. I mean, a place like Bangkok. So this is a very small city compared to what we're used to, because I think the population is probably 150, 200,000 tops. It was a lot sleepier, and it was nice to be in that community and take it all in. And then I ended up getting got a haircut at Bob's your uncle barber. And the reason I bring this up is because it was a great experience, and just being there was great. The barber's name was Ryan. It was a good experience, and we'll show that on World Barbershop Adventure. But I had never heard the phrase "Bob's your uncle," and it was neat to hear that, because there's such a strong, I guess, UK influence on Australia just based on its history. But just understanding, I don't know if it was us, but we had never heard the phrase "Bob's your uncle." But I guess it's a way of saying like you're all set or you've got it made. I guess at the end of the day, like the reason that he brought it up was the idea that you would get your haircut and it would be done, and then you would say "Bob's your uncle," and it would be all complete. So that was pretty neat to hear that. But just something that I had never, if you heard of that, please let me know, because that was the first time I ever heard it. Somebody ever used that phrase. And now I guess it's something I might use in the future. And then later that day, ended up getting I had a great walk for about 3 hours around the town, and just checking things out, and ended up stumbling upon the Cascade. Stumbled upon, it was near us, but the Cascade Brewery, and they've got great Tasmanian beer. There's 2 major breweries in Tasmania. One is called Cascade, and that's in Hobart, and the other one's called Boggs, which is in Langston. I'm trying to say that wrong. Langston or Longston? But both of these breweries are unbelievable, because I drank Cascade when I was down there in Tasmania, and then I ended up having the Boggs beer when I was in Brisbane, and both of these breweries are amazing. So I highly recommend, if you're into walking around breweries and checking out local beer, definitely go check out Cascade if you're in Hobart, because it's neat, but the beers themselves are delicious. So, and my buddy says because that's how clean the water is in Tasmania, but I definitely believe him. And then so that Wednesday we had a great trip set up to check out some of the wilderness, and I booked it through Airbnb. And I bring it up because we don't always take advantage of Airbnb when we travel, but it is a great new way. Their experiences, I guess their experiences tab is, there's more and more opportunities coming that you can book really great, either tours or cafe, to see different cafes, or like there's a lot of things going on with cooking classes. And they're getting more, I guess, competitive, and there's competitive on how you can book it, but also a huge variety of opportunities to do things as you land in a city that you might not know. So we took advantage of it was called the Tasmanian Wilderness Adventure, and it was a tour up and down, kind of up the coast. So we ended up going to the Derwent Valley, which had Mountain Field National Park. So basically, we walked around a national park for about an hour and a half, and just strolled through. There's the massive fern trees, and there's the world's second largest trees. They're massive throughout this little mini forest, and just walked through. Had a chance to see. I always screw it up because they're mini kangaroos. What are those little kangaroos called? The wallabies? What was the other name though? We never really discovered. Panamum, yeah. But we saw these things out in the wilderness. And they basically walk feet from you. So it was really cool to be able to see that. And they hop like kangaroos. They look like kangaroos. They've got pouches like kangaroos. Kind
of look like a rabbit. They're tiny like a rabbit. And then they hop like a kangaroo. And they're like a darkish sandy gray color. And they're super cute. But yeah, it's really hard to spot them because they blend in well with their surroundings. So Matt was good at that.
Yes, we had a chance to spot a few of those, and it was a neat tour. The tour guide was fantastic. So through that process, it was about 9 hours total, but that was our first major stop. And then we went to a Bonorong Wildlife Sanctuary, and that was neat because essentially it's a sanctuary where they rescue a bunch of the local animals, a few of which I'd never seen in my life. So the Tasmanian devil, which we hear about as a kid, because obviously there's a cartoons on the Tasmanian devil. That was how I learned about it when I was a kid. But they were neat because some of the facts around Tasmanian devils is kind of unique.
Yeah, so I knew about Tasmanian devils, but I honestly didn't know what they looked like. And the Tasmanian devil actually is super tiny. I don't really know how much it weighs, but it's probably like I would just say an average size cat. And they're black, and it has the strongest bite in the world, and it's stronger than the bite of a pit bull. And so they can have 1,200 pounds per square inch in that bite, which is crazy because, that's the last thing on earth I'd want to do is get bit by one of those. But another interesting fact about them was that they have like a litter of 20 to 30 babies, but only 4 survive because they're a marsupial and they have a pouch. And inside their pouch is located 4 nipples where they feed their babies. And so right from birth, it's kind of like a mad dash to get to this pouch. And once the 4 attach, I should say, and latch onto the nipple where they can be fed, and there's no other room for, the other babies. So they just die. And when the babies are born, we were told, we didn't get to see any at the sanctuary, but we were told that they were the size of a grain of rice. So just find that fascinating because it's so, so tiny for something to be outside of the womb and then, live in a pouch and survive. I guess in addition to the other animals that we saw some kangaroos. They gave us some food that we could feed them with. And it appeared to me to look like little food pellets mixed with like oatmeal, like dried oatmeal. And you could just feed the kangaroos, go right up to them, and they just ate right out of your hand. And these are normal sized kangaroos. Again, there were other things like wombats. They had 3 koalas there, which was interesting because koalas are not native to Tasmania. So I don't know how they acquired the koalas, but they said that once those koalas, I guess, die or, whatever, or if they're too ill to stay there, they're not going to receive any more koalas there. So what we saw is a very, very small sanctuary. And it was just really cool just to see the animals up close. They would let you hold the animals, pet the animals, take pictures with the animals. And again, I'm not a big fan on zoos or sanctuaries unless I truly know that they're really providing some sort of benefit for the animal and not really just having, animals out of their element. But this sanctuary, it seemed legit because a lot of the animals they had some sort of like physical debilitation. So some were missing limbs because they were hit by trucks driving. Some were blind, but it was just a nice place for the animals to live and get proper care so they're not out in the wild and being attacked by another animal.
Yeah. And then, to be able to see, like, they had like these little anteater looking animals as well. And there's also like a wide variety of small animals and then parrots and other birds that we don't have a chance to see a bunch. So that was a neat part of the trip. And then from there we went to we grabbed lunch in this small town of Richmond. And Richmond has the oldest working bridge in Australia. So we had a chance. It's just kind of like this picturesque tiny town that has the oldest church in Australia. And you just kind of walk around and take it all in. And they've got these little sweet lolly shops, and they've got all these different places that tourists just stop by. It's one of those little kind of a touristy town, but quaint and neat and fun. So we went to the Richmond Arms Hotel, which is probably one of the oldest. I think they said it's the oldest operating hotel in. One of the oldest operating hotels in all of Australia. So we stopped in there for lunch. I had some fish and chips and drank another one of those Cascade beers and just enjoyed it and just kind of took it in with some of the locals that probably frequent there a lot. And it was nice. It was a good place to kind of relax before we had the end of our tour, which took us back to the Mount Wellington summit, which looks over the entire city. So you have to kind of wind up this road. And as you get to the top, it gets colder and colder. And then when we were up there, it was probably 5 degrees Celsius, which is pretty damn cold. And probably the coldest that we've experienced on our journey. And the wind was biting as well. But amazing views of the entire city. So you can get these great panoramic photos. And it was just nice just to be up there, kind of chill out, take it all in. And it's a different view. And it's really nice to climb, although we didn't climb up that far, but it's always nice to be that high above the earth, I guess. And that was about it. And from that tour, ended up going back and relaxing that night, and we had to leave the next day. And it was one of those places on our journey that you look back and like, damn, I wish I'd have booked more than kind of the 3.5 days that we did. And because there was a lot to see, we went during a holiday, which probably changed some things as well. And not that it felt rushed, but we just felt like, man, we could have spent more time here and really enjoyed it because the wilderness and the nature aspect of it's just so chill and gorgeous. The people were very kind. It just kind of had that old small town vibe to it, and it was really relaxing. And I get it. I get now why you see a lot of they're doing a great job marketing too around different parts of Australia, because we've been to 2 other cities now and we've seen things that talked about Tasmania. So I get why Australians probably go there all the time and take it all in, because it's gorgeous. The only regret that I have on the journey is we didn't go to the Mona, which is the Museum of Old and New Art. It's got like this folklore vibe to it, because we talked to like 2 or 3 different people in town about it, and everybody, they all seem like they know about it, but there's also kind of this vibe that they don't really know, because essentially it was started by a professional gambler, David Walsh. And he's made hundreds, probably hundreds of millions of dollars, because he got into some trouble with the Australian government over 37 million in taxes off of his gambling winnings. So he's done quite well in horse racing and at the tables in casinos, so much that he's pretty much banned everywhere. But there's kind of, when you talk to people around town, there's kind of this mystery around this guy and his place and what he's currently doing and his museum. So it was neat to hear that, but we haven't had a chance to go in it. But it's definitely somewhere, if you do go there, probably book in advance and carve it into your day, because for us it was closed on Tuesdays, and Tuesday was the day we could have went, so we didn't make that happen. So that's kind of the only regret from Tasmania, and it's something that people usually do. It's something that if I were you and you're going there, definitely book it in, because it's exotic art, and it's just a rich dude spending his money and buying a lot of cool stuff and putting in a building that he's calling a museum, and now it's world renowned, and people come from all over the world to because it's his personal collection. It's not funded by the government, and so he's building it out, and now people from around the world are trying to showcase their art there as well, and a lot of people are coming to check it out. So definitely a miss on our part, but definitely something that you should do, and you should find a way. But Tasmania for sure, put it on your list. If you're coming this far in the world, definitely find a way to get 4 to 6 days in there. Now, I know that's a lot. We're so blessed to be able to travel like we're doing. But if you're coming to Australia and you book 2 to 3 weeks to come here, I think that should be part of your tour as well. Obviously, Australia is a place that you could spend months in a year in if you could, but it's a great place to visit if you do come this way. And that is it for this episode. Thank you again so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. This really helps us get into front of new traveler listeners that might be not aware of our story and are looking for advice on ways to travel better around the world. As always, you can find all the links, all the important links that we talked about from Tasmania in today's show notes at the website under the podcast tab at passportjoy.com. You'll find each episode listing there. It'll show you all the places, like the tour group that we used, and restaurants that we talked about, and things like that from Tasmania, and all the other places. It's a great place to find that. Again, podcast tab at passportjoy.com. Sign up for the newsletter at the website, put your email address in there, press go. You get the newsletter every Thursday with highlights of the places that we're traveling to and just travel tips and different things that we're sharing along the way. Go get Nikki's book, Passport Joy, Reflections on Life, Love, and Other Stuff While Traveling the World. It's her insight on her travel experience, everything that led up to her decision, background on her life, and it's a fun read, and she's getting a lot of great feedback on that. So please download the book, read it. It's available on Amazon Kindle, and then give the review once you complete. We'd really appreciate that. All right, we will be back with you next week with a new episode. Until then, safe travels wherever you might be heading next.